Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
This podcast is for you. So if you have a retirement question you'd like us to address, reach out to us online anytime at matsonfinancial.com. This week, we're sharing our lessons on the things that could cost you six figures or more. We actually started this list last week here with Gary and Gerald, and I wanted to continue that conversation this week here on the show because the number of financial mistakes that could end up costing you six figures if you're not careful is actually pretty long here. And this list comes to us from Yahoo Finance. We've already covered things like living beyond your means, ignoring inflation, and failing to diversify or investing too conservatively. So now the rest of the list here this weekend here on Money Mentors. Let's get to some of the tax and legal landmines that could cost you big time here, Gary and Laurel. Number 7 on their list here that we didn't get to last week. This is a really big one if you're not careful and could affect those that you want to leave money to in the future, and that's forgetting to update your beneficiaries. I know you talk about this all the time, but I would imagine a lot of us do forget who's listed on which account, and we don't go back and revisit that.
No, I mean, you're 100% right. We even dealt with a case where a woman had come to us, her husband had passed, and the ex-spouse was on that life insurance payout.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, wave a magic wand because
I'm sure they're good friends.
That one, right? That individual was so amazing that she actually signed her rights away to go back to the actual current spouse because there were children involved. I mean, it gives me goosebumps talking about it. That is not a typical case, right?
No,
I mean, people of the ex-spouse, like Dad said, you're not communicating on all of those sides, and it gets messy. And so that's just one of those things. But also, how many times do people perhaps sign up for a 401k, maybe don't understand all the intricacies or what other accounts there are out there, and don't even put a beneficiary on file? Now, when something happens, that's going to court and that's going through probate, and that is time, so much time and money spent. So making sure that you do update those. Like you mentioned, Jennifer, our team, we review this, especially at every annual review. We go through some trusted contacts, if we can't get a hold of you, what were to happen here. Also, we have safety and security protocols in place when you want to request money from your accounts. So we have a lot of these safeguards in place to make sure that you don't think about these things all the time, but we do, and we want to make sure it's seamless for you in the event of something happening like this.
It was so cool that our client stepped up and said, yep, I'm going to sign off on it. And she knew her plan was secure, so she didn't need the money. So that was a lot easier for her to do than somebody saying, well, no, I got a windfall here.
Right. Kudos to her for taking the high road on that because, that's a big mistake. And again, one that could have devastated an entire family because of, again, one signature. So think about that. Update those beneficiaries. Next on the list here of some of these six-figure mistakes. And yes, we talk about this one all the time too. But again, one that people really need to understand and work with a retirement fiduciary advisor who has this in mind. Underestimating the tax impact of your withdrawals. I think a lot of people overlook this in their retirement planning. And if you make a wrong move here tax-wise, again, over time, that can really add up.
Oh, especially. Now, I'm going to combine this one, Jennifer and Laurel, with number 12 as well, because, again, that's cashing out your 401k early. And they kind of work the same way. So many times we have clients come in and say, I want to pay off my house. I want to go into retirement. No, my house is paid off. Well, the problem with that is taxes, and we've got to deal with that. So what you can do is that, once again, if you're taking out $100,000 to pay off a house, don't forget that you go up in tax brackets now. You're going to hit some high numbers up there. So you may have to pay an extra 30% in taxes so you can pay that home off. That's not a good plan. Plus, if you take money out to pay off other debt that's really, really what I call bad debt, you're actually paying extra as well. So we like to keep the goose in place and manufacture those golden eggs to take care of that. And over time, it works much better because you're not paying extra in taxes. Your golden eggs are taking care of that, and your goose is still there. When it's all paid off, you get more money for more income. Don't underestimate the impact of taxes and how you take money out over time, including even buying a new vehicle. We do this with a lot of our clients, is that it's much better to pay for it over 2, maybe 3 years, accelerate the paying off, but keep in that lower tax bracket.
Yeah, and like Dad said, that $100,000 example, let's say you had $100,000 left that you wanted to pay off for your home. Well, instead of just us being like, yeah, sure, go ahead and take $100,000, now you're going into the 32% tax bracket where you shouldn't be typically. Let's actually put a plan together, maybe over 4 years. You take $30,000 this year, $30,000 the next year, $20,000 and $20,000. Now we're spreading this tax liability out. And you're coming to see us before you're retiring, right? So you know that, hey, one of my goals is to have this paid off. So yeah, over this 4-year time, we can have that done. Now, that's just a simple example that might be different by case, depending on what tax bracket you're in, what distributions or income, right? Things that you're at too. But these are the types of things that we do day in and day out for our clients to make sure that you have a meaningful retirement plan with an eye on that taxation.
Yeah, we had clients call in, and she said, Gary, I need you. And she was crying over the phone, and I figured, okay, her husband passed. And so I went out there to her home, changed my appointments, and I knock on the door and get ready to walk in, and open the door is her husband. And I'm like, what? She was crying on the phone. Now she's, oh, Gary, great, come on in. I made you cookies, because we make cookies for our clients. She's, oh, I'm making you cookies. And I go, okay, what's going on? And she said, tell him. He promised that when we turned 65, he would pay off the house. And he looked at me, Gary, tell her, if we take the money out, we're going to pay so much more in taxes that we can't pay off the house. I go, oh boy, this is not a great one. So like Laurel said, we set up a plan. Exactly. We set up a plan. We paid half of it off that year, and the other half in January we paid off, and we kept the money in savings. Everything worked out, but we've had to put that plan together because their plan was working, but now they both made a commitment about something, and they're both holding each other accountable.
Yep. And that's what it comes back to is the conversation. Like Dad said, an example, if it's today, yeah, you can take a distribution in September and pay some of that off. And then in January, 4 months later, but it's a different tax year, take the other piece, right? So these are the things that we think about all the time. We love the math and crunching the numbers, and that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Next on their list, violating IRA rules. You really want to understand that because, again, any kind of transaction that you make could impact your tax liability there. And so you want to work with that team who always is helping you avoid some of those missteps within your retirement accounts. We'll talk more in just a moment here about things like RMDs too and how that can maybe trip you up when it comes to your retirement rules. Now, next on the list, I wanted to get to this one, though, and that is perhaps claiming Social Security too early. But as we've always talked about, this decision is really different for everyone. But if you're otherwise healthy and maybe you don't need that Social Security income, yeah, that can cost you thousands, can it, Laurel?
Absolutely. And this is where it comes down to the math. A lot of people might come in and say, I want to take it early at 62. I want to take it at 65. I want to wait till full retirement age. They have an idea in their mind, not necessarily a lot of data and details that support that. And so we might say, okay, yes, Susie, Bob, let's run this report, and I'm going to show you what it looks like if you're to take Social Security early at 62. And then also let's look at this other report here to show what it looks like if we optimize or we're going to maximize Social Security. And then we're going to go over the differences. Now, if it still makes sense and the clients are the most comfortable with age 62, that's where we land, great. But there probably are some nuances on why our advisors are talking about doing something a little bit differently. Maybe that's alleviating some of the pressure off of your distributions, off of your portfolio in the beginning when you retire, right? Because maybe you're taking a lot more income from your plan in the beginning to have those go-go years, to go do those fun things. But then there might be some other times where, no, it makes sense to defer Social Security, take income from some of the portfolio now, or perhaps you don't need income, and then we look to turn it on at age 70. So this is a whole different spectrum. But what I love about what we do here at Mattson Financial is every single person or couple who walks into our office, it's a different plan. And we're going to go over and make sure we have the right information to educate you on and the why behind it, and it's going to work with your income plan.
And the biggest thing you need to remember is that when you make that change and you take it early, whatever that discount is that you're giving up, it's held permanently. So let's say, for example, your spouse is 62, she's going to take Social Security, and you're going to wait till full retirement age. You pass first, that deduction that she received at age 62 follows her when you pass. She's going to have that reduction. Getting the full amount is still going to be reduced by that new amount. That's the question is, can she still live with the amount of income that she's now getting, much less from Social Security, up to 30%? And that's permanently. So how does that work all the way through? You really need to do the math and see the plan.
If you're in a couple like Dad's talking about, it's not just about your dollars, but something happens to one of you, what does that remaining or surviving spouse receive? That's a part of our planning.
All right. Next, underestimating health care costs. This could cost you big time, but this one's really hard to kind of peg down, I think, because we don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, this is interesting because I think so many people come to us. Well, prior, we have Health Solutions now where we offer Medicare and Marketplace. But prior to that, people would say, oh, I think everything's covered. Then they come to us like, oh my gosh, I need to take $4,000 out because of this wasn't covered with my health insurance. And I thought it was. And that just showed us that those health insurance agents also weren't doing their job on educating clients. So we brought that in-house because we want to have more transparency and more conversation about that. We don't know what everything can look like with the crystal ball, but we sure are going to plan for the worst to make sure that your plan and your income can sustain that.
Yeah, we have clients who are in long-term care. We have clients that are paying $14,000 a month for long-term care.
Ooh.
That's where they're at.
Wow.
We planned for it. We knew it was going to happen. Let's face it, we know statistically that two people age 65 or older, 100% of the time, one of them use some form of long-term care. So we have to plan for it. And by planning for it, it's not a burden.
And that's the thing for any of these things on the list. You can actually plan for these things, whether it's healthcare, whether it's Social Security, whether it's taxes. And the great thing at Mattson Financial Services, you've helped people plan for all of these different issues. And the next one on this list here is something that you don't necessarily think about until you're in your 70s, but that is missing a required minimum distribution. And I know it is confusing because Congress has changed the rules on us quite a few times over the last few years, right? Yeah, and may change the rules again actually coming up. So tell us, when does that kick in and what's the penalty if you do mess this up?
Well, first, I want to point out that the IRS and the federal government have made this your responsibility. The person that owns the IRA is responsible for this decision. And let's face it, how much do you know about it?
Yeah, right. And we've taken that on, one of those many things, being a holistic retirement firm. We don't expect you to understand all of these things and keep up with it because, like you said, Jennifer, it changes all the time. And right now it's age 73. So if you're turning 73 and you have a pre-tax account, like an IRA, a 401k, right? You haven't paid taxes on it yet. It's deferring. Well, now at 73, they're saying, all right, defer no more. You got to pay us taxes. So you need to take out a certain percentage every year. Now this percentage grows because you are getting older, right? But also potentially your accounts are growing.
Or should grow.
Exactly. So you're going to have to be taking more money. And we have found people at this age probably don't need those dollars to actually have their lifestyle and that critical income need. So now they're forced to take money out, forced into a higher tax bracket.
No, we don't like that.
Right? And so there's a lot of, now you can start feeling like I don't have control over my money. So we need to start having this conversation well before 73. Your advisor needs to make sure, what does this tax plan look like so you don't have a tax bomb? You're not forced into the situation. But like you said, Jennifer, the bad thing here is if you forget it, you miss it, it's a 25% penalty. And that's actually nicer. It used to be 50% on what you would have paid.
Yeah.
Now it's only 25. But think about that. If you have to take out thousands of dollars or $30,000 from an account and you get hit with a 25% penalty on top of that, there's no oopsie one time wrong. No, the government gets that. So we want to make sure we have eyes and ears and everything, a plan around required minimum distributions.
And you might find out that you're taking, like Laurel said, this money out that because you have to do it, and all of a sudden you're in this new tax bracket. Well, working with a fiduciary advisor, there's ways that we can combat that so that the is coming out, but you're not hitting those new tax brackets. We can donate it to a charity or a 501c3 that's approved. There's other ways to do it as well. But again, the most important thing is to make sure you're not entering those new tax brackets unless you should be there. Once you enter it, there's no going back. It's gone.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I have talked to radio listeners that they call in on the weekends and they say, I have a great advisor. They've really made me some good money, but they haven't talked to me about required minimum distributions. And that blows my mind because that's a part of your income strategy, right? If you're going to take money out, you have to pay taxes. So make sure that's a very key piece, and that's something we can help you with here at Mattson Financial.
Absolutely. We'll tell you more in just moments here about how you can address some of those questions. But next on this list is often a frequent mistake too, and that's withdrawing too much too soon. It can be really easy to do, again, if you don't have a plan for those withdrawals in retirement and how much you're going to spend.
I mean, that's the number one fear, right, is running out of money. And that hasn't changed in decades of being by Dad's side here with working with clients. And people might think the 4% rule is a good one. It could be. But it goes back to a very individualized plan because you have a nest egg, and depending on your nest egg and what you want to do, that really dictates what type of critical income need that you need to have come out of this portfolio. So once again, it just ties back into the fact of needing to have a good conversation with our advisors in the beginning, laying out your dreams, goals, and desires, and then we put a written income plan together so you can see how all of this works so you don't take too much up front that hurts your portfolio in the long run.
Yeah, we had new retirees a while back, but it's not that long ago, and they retired, and in January, they plan on going down south for 4 months and enjoying the nice warm weather. They've never been able to do that, just a couple weeks at a time. And so we came back May. They came back for their annual review in the office, and I said, well, how was Florida? And she says, we didn't go. And I go, what? You didn't go? Nope. We didn't go because the market went down. He was afraid we would run out of money. And I go, no, we had this set up. This is your normal income stream we had set up. Market didn't affect that. And so the money's still sitting there. So yes, you could have gone and it should have been fine. And she elbowed him and she got him pretty good. And he says, see, I told you we should have called Gary. Once again, the plan was set up and he had fear thinking, okay, I'm back working. The market's down. I can't take money out. All of that was false evidence appearing real, and that fear was unjustified. So once they looked at that September of that year, he did build a new pole barn with those monies they didn't use for Florida. But once again, maybe that was his plan. all
Right,
along.
exactly. Now she's like, wait a minute.
But she won't let that one get by again.
Nope. They're going to Florida next time, for sure.
Right?
Absolutely. But yeah, if you have that plan, you know that no matter what the market does, you can go on the trip. You can do all the things that you plan because, again, you factored in for volatility and all those what ifs that happen in retirement. And then finally on our list today, the things that could cost you 6 figures or more in retirement. Not using a financial planner. And I know what our listeners are saying. Oh, well, of course you're going to say this because you're a financial advisor, right? But there's actually evidence to back this up. I mean, numerous studies have shown that using a financial advisor can really add value to what you're doing in retirement.
Talked about a little bit earlier, but it just comes back down to the fact of you might have somebody who can manage your money well, right? A brokerage account, let's say. And then maybe somebody else that you go to and, hey, they say an annuity is the best thing. You can make sure you get some guaranteed income by doing X. Okay, well, then you need to go to your CPA or your tax preparer and you get a tax plan.
Yeah, if they do that work.
Right? Yeah, I hear a lot of times. I mean, I just spoke with a radio listener and they have a really healthy nest egg and they said, but our CPA basically does a 1040 for us. I could do it, right? Because there's no tax plan with it. It's just a tax preparation. And then health insurance, right? Need to make sure you go see your marketplace or Medicare agent when it comes to health insurance. And then your estate planning attorney to make sure you have a trust or a will and power of attorney set up. And out of all of that, not only does that cost you time and money for all those different relationships, but you have to make sure that all of them are communicating, and likely they are not. That's really hard for them to all come together and sit at a table. So that's what we do differently here at Mattson Financial. We are that financial planner, holistic firm with an eye on every single one of those pieces, plus more. If it has anything that deals with your retirement, we are going to want to talk about it and have a plan for it and make sure we're helping you get across that finish line.
Yeah, think of it like you own a professional sports team. You're the owners. You have managers, you have people that are vice presidents, and they're running these things and making sure everything happens, director of personnel, and your team is now winning successfully every game they go on. Why? Because they have a great plan and they're executing it at the right time. I am a Lions fan. I got to admit it. I miss Ben Johnson. I'm going to say it. He has a great offensive coordinator. Our other gentleman was a great defensive coordinator.
I wanted to dislike him a lot this week, but I agree. I like him.
But we seen a real difference when they're gone off the team. You're going to have a complete team. It's going to get you there every single time so you can enjoy the winning aspects of retirement.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Mattson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Mattson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Mattson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.